Hello there, kia ora. If you live on a diet of far right-wing media, or even what makes up a large chunk of our mainstream media since the gap between the two are closing really quickly these days, chances are you'd be up in arms about a clear attack on free speech that's happening right now, as the Broadcasting Standards Authority considers a complaint against Sean Plunkett. Winston Peters compared the move to the Stasi. David Seymour has said it's a brave move going after the platform because no one asked the BSA to police the internet. They're short, snappy responses to grab headlines and signal where they stand to their followers, a large chunk of whom are platform listeners, because it's been a long understood belief that broadcasting means, well, broadcasting in the traditional sense. Using radio waves to send pictures and audio. To be honest, actually, I was under the same impression. It was actually what I was taught when I got my media degrees. But the Broadcasting Act was written in 1989. Back when the only place that really had the internet was the University of Waikato, and with evolving technologies and a government moving slowly on potential redefinitions of media, these responses are designed to frame this as an issue around unfettered free speech limitations, which it isn't more than we already have on traditional media outlets. There's even scaremongering from the Free Speech Union that they're coming for your podcasts and other online media. So let's break it all down. The BSA received a complaint that Plunkett had breached one of its core rules, as laid out in the 1989 Act around broadcasting standards, ensuring safeguards against the portrayals of persons in a manner that encourages denigration or discrimination of someone from a legally defined protected group. And those definitions include sex, age, occupation, race, religion, cultural, or political beliefs. In this case, Plunkett referred to tikanga Māori practices as mumbo-jumbo. The BSA then launched an investigation into whether this was something that they should make a ruling on. Part of that is looking at the legal requirements of the Act and getting feedback from the named parties, which is what Plunkett read out on his show. The draft jurisdiction decision, which means that they haven't actually looked at the complaint itself specifically. The BSA has said that they feel Plunkett's show meets the requirement under Section 2 of the Act, which defines broadcasting as any transmission of programs by radio waves or other means of telecommunication for reception by the public by receiving apparatus, like the Platform app, which allows you to live stream the channel directly to your apparatus or phone. The law also specifically excludes content made for performance and on-demand content, which the BSA says includes services like podcasts, Netflix, YouTube, or general social media posts on platforms like TikTok or Instagram. When the law was written, the government was actually talking about cable and satellite delivery options when they said any other means of telecommunications. But these days, that includes the internet, the place where you're watching this video right now, while doom scrolling and avoiding the housework, which is totally not based on a real-world example. Anyway, we do use the internet as a telecommunications medium because it's basically defined as any electronic tool for distance communication. Which means, under the 1989 law, the BSA have a really strong argument to be able to make a ruling on this complaint, especially since Plunkett also self-identifies as a broadcaster. And since the board of the BSA has two lawyers, I'm sure they're pretty confident in their interpretation here. However, the BSA has never done this before. This is setting a precedent, which means it is a grey area legally until it's tested and set. Or the government swoops in and changes the law to benefit the people they want to benefit, despite all of the expert advice that say that that's a bad idea, and it's not like our government would ever do something like that. Anyway, in terms of wider ramifications for other online content, the clearly defined limits the BSA currently has in place means your favourite content creators working across platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, well, they wouldn't be covered by this ruling. However, any organisation that has live streaming options and scheduled and presented as a broadcaster direct to a device without a third-party platform like YouTube, well, they could be, like Reality Check Radio. So no, this isn't the BSA acting like Nazi secret police. It's the BSA doing exactly what the BSA was set up to do, evolving using the tools it was given 35 years ago to ensure that they can safeguard the public interest and democratic function of media in a time of media transformation by acting as a neutral, independent arbiter that balances a broadcaster's right to freedom of expression against the audience's right to be protected from harm. So I'm sure it's just a coincidence that those arguing the loudest about this are the ones who seemingly want to tip that balance away from the right to be protected that we should all have. Hey, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. While you're here, why not hit that like button or share the video or even subscribe to the channel. You could even become a paid YouTube member so you can see things released in advance, you get access to some exclusive content, and like all these awesome people, you get to have your name at the end of the credits as well.